Hey, Carl.
Hey, how you doing, Bob?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
All right.
Hello. Oh, yeah, it's on.
I like your background.
Oh yeah, track 115.
Boy, is it on.
Wow. A lot of detail on that.
It's part
Thank
of
you all for being in
Oh,
attendance. Can we turn that down just a frog here?
I haven't seen
In any
digi switches
event,
in quite a while.
the topic tonight is the quintessential end-fed half-wave antenna, all about counterpoises for James. I think we'll start this evening with self-introductions. My name is Phil, KD6RM. Hank? We got to pass the microphone.
Microphone for you here.
This is Wilson, November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot.
And I'm Hank, K6HUH.
Larry Foreman, visiting and renewing my membership, AJ6G.
Make sure you give the treasurer some money. Oh,
Rick, Kilo Mike 6, Mike Zulu Yankee.
Yeah, my name's Walter, K6HTD.
I'm Tom, Whiskey 6, beautiful Sacramento.
ooh.
I'm Alan, Kilo Oscar 6, Alpha Golf Whiskey.
Bob, KF6 ABC.
Mike, Kilo Oscar 6, Charlie India Lima.
It's Kurt, Kilo 6, Zulu Golf Alpha.
Jim, Whiskey 6, Juliet Mike Fox.
James, Alpha Echo 6, Juliet Golf. And this is Wilson, November 6, Echo Mike Foxtrot.
Art, KD6, GBY.
Bob, N6 PGQ.
Marie, YL to WB6 YLK.
I'm Dave, WB6 YLK, beautiful downtown Wilton.
I'm Ken, Kilo Echo 6, Romeo Michael November.
Glenn, KM6 RGQ.
Okay, thank you all. Who have we got online?
Go ahead, Carl.
Carl, November 6, Charlie Kilo Victor from Wilton.
Bob
Yes,
K6.
Carl?
Bob K6GCN. And
Hold
look,
down your space bar, Carl.
What was that?
I can
We're
hear
working
it
on
fine.
audio.
Bill, am I coming through okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, Bob.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Hello, Bill.
Hi.
And then who else we got? We got Carl. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, good evening, N6CKV.
Thank you, Carl. And we got Bob.
Yep. K6GCN.
That's a great scene you got behind you there.
It's probably where I wish I was right now.
Okay.
By the way, hey, Phil, I'm looking forward to this presentation on end-fed antennas. I've been using one for years with great success, so I'm anxious to hear what you have to say.
Well, wait till you hear from me.
I can't wait.
Okay, at this point, boy, that's loud. We need a treasurer's report.
Phil, don't forget us over here. Kilo India 1 Tango Tango Yankee.
Well, you should have grabbed the
And-
microphone.
Which I did after our audience went first, and
Don't forget Carol.
Oh, Carol, Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta. Hi.
Thank you.
awesome.
You want to borrow a mic?
All right. So good evening, everybody. It's Wilson, your treasurer in 6ENF, and I'll give the treasury report. I am remiss because I don't have the call sign, but we have a new member. I felt like I could hear myself pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna get you registered in Ham Club Online, Larry. So nice meeting you, A6 Juliet Golf. AJ6G. Thank you. And we have Tim Rimmers. Can't remember his call, and I didn't write it down, but welcome, Tim. And I'll give an update later on your call sign. If you're here, please raise your hand or signal hello. So the quick up. I feel, for some reason, I feel like I'm loud enough, but all right, let me work on that for you. Let me take care of it. Let me get right on that, Gert. And so basically, I'll just read from what I have printed out here. The credit union month ending balance at the end of March 2024 was $9,350.66. And the income we pulled in from membership dues was $147.62. And repeater donations was $59.48. So I want to thank all the folks out there who are still evergreen donors and contributing to the repeater fund. Thank you. And the total income was 473.68. That's not megahertz, that's dollars. And the general fund expenditures was $211.27 total. We had some PayPal charges, some subscriptions to the Google Workspace, Ham Club Online, and Zoom, and a club project where we did the homemade radio project with Bob Mix, the DIY group. DIY radio group had a project last couple of months, and that was fun. Yeah, we got some follow-on work to catch up on, but we built a 2 LED flasher, I guess to call that a monostable vibrator, and then they have a Pixie transceiver that's on a colorburst crystal, so that's 3.579 megahertz, and that was fun. I actually, yeah, code practice oscillator. Thanks for mentioning that. That was a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing more like that in the future. So the Safe Credit Union balance as of the date of this report, which was April 26th, was $9,528.29. So we picked up some. So the total repeater fund balance is $3,023.74. And the general fund balance is $6,599.15. And so that basically summarizes the Treasury report. For the next round of activity, we're going to catch up on tax filings, and we recently renewed the ARRL liability insurance, and we'll be looking for other insurances to cover the club's assets and equipment. So do I want to, what about membership? Oh, I skipped over this part. My apologies. I have, depends on where you look, because membership is measured differently, depends on who you ask, but we basically have 167 members, including life and complimentary members. So this club has really picked up some steam over the last year. We're steadily adding members, month over month. So this is a growing and an active and a robust club. So thank you for being a part of that. And I appreciate each and every one of you, especially you, Phil. So thank you.
Want a big wet sloppy kiss? Yeah, I'll take it. Okay, let's go to the Webmaster.
Okay, we're going to enable the sharing on the Zoom here. Let's see if I can do that. Yep. Okay, here you go. This is the report for the past month, web resources, and more updates about what's going on in the club. First of all, a reminder to everyone that our website is n6na.org, and we try to keep that updated with all the latest information about the club and also other things going in the amateur radio community around us. And a lot of stuff going on in May. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on in May. I'm just going to mention that May 15th, our 2-meter net is going to be a test of the backup repeater. So everybody should have their 2-meter radios set up with the alternative PL tone. It's the same repeater frequency pair, but it's a different tone, and that's the backup repeater. We're going to conduct the net through that. So if you haven't done that, you won't be able to talk through our repeater. Make sure you have that done. Also, yeah, we're going to try to do this maybe once every month or two to make sure that it's working. May 17th and 18th, we have a booth. We're going to have an amateur radio exhibit at the Rio Linda Farm and Tractor Days at the Dry Creek Ranch. And that runs from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's a family-friendly event. So you can bring your family along. They'll have lots to do while you're playing radio at our booth. And on the 18th, that's Friday and Saturday. And Saturday, of course, we have the club breakfast in the morning at 8:30, Brookfield's Restaurant on the 18th. And then at 10:30, we will be doing a hands-on demo session for the HF participants in the Are You Ready for HF? So we're going to be ready to go there. Come by the booth and we'll do that. On the 26th of May, Carmichael Elks Lodge has a ham radio swap meet, and that starts at 7 a.m. And we'll have an ARRL booth over there. That's buy and sell and coffee and donuts and all good stuff. And it's a Sunday, the 26th. And I'm going to go right down to the very bottom there. June 11th, of course, our next meeting is going to be at the Carmichael Public Library again, but we're moving to the second Tuesday. And that'll be our field day prep meeting. Again, that's just a reminder of the backup repeater test. The difference is the PL tone is 123.0 hertz. So you have to put that in a separate memory for your radio. Be ready and program your radio now. Again, this is just a reminder of the Farm and Tractor Days. And that's a lot of fun. So we're seeing you there. And there's again the announcement of the Carmichael Elks ham swap meet. And field day coming up June 22nd and 23rd. And sign up. There is a sign up form on our website. So you just go there and put in your name, what days you want to come. You don't have to be there all the time. If you want to stay through the night, that's fine. And if you want to bring your own equipment, you're welcome to do that and just let us know there. There's a place to list that as well. Just a reminder, our nets Wednesday nights, 5:30 is a YL net on the 2-meter repeater, and that's also carried by the Australian Ladies Amateur Radio Association Echolink conference server, so that's heard around the world. 8 p.m., of course, is our 2-meter net on the 145.25 megahertz repeater. 8:30 p.m. is a 10-meter net on 28.420 megahertz upper sideband. And at 9 p.m., we have the slow scan TV net, which is on the 441.30 megahertz repeater, and also live stream on our YouTube channel. Reminder also the roundtable net, 40 meters, 7181 kilohertz lower sideband, and that's going strong Saturdays at 3 p.m. This is the report of the website activity for April. We had a total of 947 views during the month of April, which is about 33 visits per day. And the peak web page views were 102 on April 3rd. That usually is like the day right after our meeting, because people, I guess, want to see the recording of the meeting the next day. Most visited web pages during the month of April: homepage, then followed by the repeater page, the nets page, the field day page, and our 10-meter page as well. And of course, most of our views are referred to us by search engines like Bing or Google, 51.9%. 46% of our views were direct hits to our n6na.org URL, and the rest came referred from other social media and videos and other links elsewhere. By region, most of the views, again, from the United States. Got 4 from the United Kingdom, 3 from Mexico, and a few from other countries that you see there on the map. And social media, we now have 493 subscribers on our YouTube channel. We have 1,048 views of our YouTube videos during the last month. And the winner of the number of views was Are You Ready for HF? It's setting up your HF station at 173 views. Then the Rig Expert Talk was number 2. Then one of our SSTV nuts were number 3. Then the Ham Clock Project, that was a talk by Wilson, was number 4. And then the Phil's talk on HF antennas was number 5. That was last month. On our Facebook page, we have over 1,000 followers, 1,045, and that's an increase of 24 in the past month. And our Facebook discussion group has 124 members. Twitter page has 167 followers, and our Discord chat has now 39 members. And again, if you want to contact any of us in the leadership of among the officers, the board of directors, or you have any questions about the club, just send an email to contact@n6na.org, and we will direct it to the proper people and get you a response. Thank you very much.
Very well done as usual, Carol. Let's go on here. There's a couple of things that she hit on. May 18th is a very big day in our club. It's the breakfast, followed by Dry Creek Ranch, where the farm and tractor is, followed by when our HF newbies actually operate a station in like kind of a field day environment. So there's a lot going on. And speaking of field day, at this point, there's 2 people that we need as volunteers. We need someone who's going to be the band coordinator. And what that amounts to is there'll be probably 3 HF stations set up. That's kind of typical of what we have. And we have a we have a beam that we share between 3 rigs, so we can operate all 3 bands off of our spider web antenna. So we want to make sure that, you know, if you're trying to run on 10 meters and the guy next to you wants to run on 10 meters, that's not a very good idea. So the band coordinator just makes sure that we schedule who works which band. I mean, that's literally all there is to it. So you basically have a sign-in sheet, and the band coordinator says, sure, it's yours. You just make sure it happens so nobody gets their rig blown up. Not a tough job. Beyond that, typically we have a captain, but we haven't seen anybody jump on that bandwagon yet. It's nice to have a captain that kind of coordinates all the other things that happens. So if anybody has an interest in that, it would be very well received by the membership. Let's move on. We're doing our door prize thing again tonight. The prizes are a Nano VNA, the Tiny SA Spectrum Analyzer, 50 feet of RG8X, and then there's a 2-meter handheld transceiver. So whoever wins tonight gets their choice of prizes. Yes, James? Everything. Okay. The purpose of the Tiny SA, picture, if you will, you've got an AM radio, and the AM radio has an S meter. So you get one of those, remember when they had what was called a Brody knob on the steering wheel of your car? You probably don't remember that. Well, anyway, as you turn the steering wheel, it's like moving the dial string back and forth, right? So as you move the dial string back and forth, you find a peak, and that's at a specific frequency. And then you move the dial some more, you get a peak at a different frequency. And as you move the dial some more, so that is what a spectrum analyzer does, is it records signal level by frequency, and it's plotted. And typically it's plotted linearly, but the strength is plotted in decibels. That's what a spectrum analyzer does. Yes. Depending upon whose. In the case of the Tiny SA, yes. but not all spectrum analyzers.
Uh,
So,
Can I add something?
sure.
The spectrum analyzer is like the spectrum display on your IC FT 710. But instead of just covering a little piece of a band, it covers the whole spectrum from 0 hertz all the way up to 900 megahertz. So you're seeing an entire spectral display of all of those frequencies, and you could zoom in as far as you want. That's what it does.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot of variations on
Mhm.
features and all that kind of stuff. But these things are incredibly cheap. The nano VNA measures power reflection, and it measures throughput power. So in the case of your antenna, you know, you're looking at SWR, but what it's really measuring is the reflection coming back from your antenna based upon how well the antenna is matched to the frequency. Have we got a prize for him? Ooh. Oh, I need help. My wife tells me all the time. All right. So we talked about the door prizes. We talked about that. The backup repeater thing we talked about. Our scheduling. Of course, tonight we're meeting in Fair Oaks because Carmichael was booked. And I tried to book the balance of the year at the Carmichael Library. And the first Tuesday of every month was already booked. So now we're on the second Tuesday of every month, starting next month. And so the months of June, July, August, September, and October, second Tuesday of each month. When we get to November, it wasn't available. So we'll be back here the second Tuesday of November for our election of officers. And then, of course, December, we have our annual holiday party. So the whole year is booked. Yeah. What a nightmare, huh? Okay, so let's move on. I had one additional referral. One of our members suggested I get a hold of the Sacramento County school system. Apparently, they've got some meeting rooms that may or may not be available. So I'll start tracking that down. And then, you know, the other thing, I was at a homeowner association meeting a month or so ago, and it was at a Round Table Pizza. They got a room as big as this with all the audio visual stuff. All I want you to do is buy some pizza. And I, you know, I don't know how well the membership would receive that. And I'm sure that the pizza parlor is kind of anxious to sell some pizza if we use their meeting room. So I'm going to check those out and see what options are available there. We'll get this figured out. We've got the rest of the year spoken for. And when we have a new president next year, we'll turn that obligation over to the new president. What do you think? Okay. So with that, you know, we've only got a couple of things left. We've got our presentation tonight. I've got some freebies to give away. We have a drawing, and then we get to go home. So if you would, let's fire up my presentation.
While we're waiting for that to come up, we do have a request from John Dyer, who is the person at the Carmichael Elks Lodge that puts on the Hamfest. He's pretty handicapped and he's not in very good health, so he's asking for volunteers to help him with carrying on the Hamfest. So if you're interested in assisting in any way, like directing traffic in the parking lot, whatever else has to be done for putting on a Hamfest, just to be there in body, you should contact Steve, W6VDP, because he's organizing this. Okay, and that would be very, very great appreciated, because this is a very well attended ham swap meet, and I'm sure he would appreciate any assistance. I will be there doing the ARRL booth.
We're getting this figured out. There we go. As James said, reflections. Reflections on the end-fed antenna, complete with most of the warts. Could we move to the next slide, please? Start slideshow. Pop up, start slideshow, click that. From the first slide. I didn't do nothing. Ask my wife. Typically, you click slideshow and start from the first slide. Oh, that looks better. Then all you have to do is hit enter. Okay, so most of us are familiar with the dipole antenna, right? And there's a couple of qualities of the dipole antenna that we should all be familiar with. So if you feed a dipole in the middle, is that a voltage feed or a current feed? Exactly right. And you can see that this is the amount of current, or this is the amount of current that the antenna is seeing. In the middle is the high current point, and the ends are the high voltage points, right? And so there's nothing new about this half wave antenna other than how we're going to feed it, right? Next slide. So dipoles are normally current fed at the center, what's called the low impedance point. And end-fed half-wave antennas are voltage fed either using a quarter wave transmission line or by use of a transformer for high impedance feed. Does anybody know of an example of feeding a half-wave antenna on the end using a quarter wave transmission line? You've all got one. The J-pole. That's exactly what that is. Next slide. So here is the original end-fed half-wave antenna. James, where did you park your dirigible? Because that's where it started. Absolutely. If you look at this, here's this big balloon. And if you look at this ladder line in the middle, that's a quarter wave transmission line, right? Looks like a transmission line, open ladder line. And then this bottom piece is the half wave resonant element. So we went back to what, 1910, 1890, I don't know. We didn't have radio back then, did we? But we had dirigibles. Yeah, we did. Art's a historian or hysterical. We're going to talk about Heinrich Hertz too. So in any event, you can use a step-up transformer to get to high impedance, or you can use a quarter wave transmission line to match the impedance, because a quarter wave transmission line, if you feed it at the current node, at the end of it, you have the high voltage node and vice versa. Properties of quarter wave transmission lines. So next slide. So here is the one everybody sees, everybody talks about. This is your antenna. Okay, so what goes on here, tell me about the impedance transformation ratio of a transformer. It's the turns ratio squared. So in this particular case, this guy's using 2 turns on the primary, 14 turns on the secondary. What's that turn ratio? Say 7. Right. 7 squared is 49. We can't get to 50, can we? But we're getting pretty damn close. So if you need to get to the end impedance, or the impedance at the end of a quarter wave element, it's typically around 2,500 ohms. That's why they use this transformer range. And transformers are incredibly efficient. I mean, this thing's probably 95% efficient, transformers. So that's what you see in all of these end-fed designs. Transformers wound like this, either 2 turns primary or 3 turns primary, 7 times that many turns on the secondary. That's all there is to it. There's nothing magic. So next slide. The classic J-pole is identical to the ZEP. We just talked about that. The quarter wave transmission line falling off of the balloon, and then the half wave element. The only difference is the J-pole is most often built as a vertically polarized antenna for VHF, UHF. Next slide. So here is the J-pole, and that's a pretty lousy slide, but it's the best I could find. So if you look on the left, it says lambda divided by 2. That's the actual element. That's your half wave element. And then you'll see what says quarter, and over on the other side, you got that little bar. That's a quarter wave transmission line, 2 parallel pieces of wire. And if you look at your J-pole, that's exactly what you have. So end fed, that's the end fed, or yeah, this is the end fed, and this is a half wave. There's a lot of end fed half wave antennas around. There's nothing new about any of this. Next slide. And here's a question I'm sure you're thinking. Examples above show only one wire attached to the element. Can that work? Art. Why? One chance at fame. Magic word, resonance. Would you like to define resonance? It's up there, you can read it. That's exactly right. You know, if you have a tuning fork and you have another one that's exactly the same frequency, you bang one tuning fork and you let the other one touch it, pretty soon both tuning forks are singing at exactly the same frequency with the same intensity. Why? But what's going on? One tuning fork is stealing the energy from the other tuning fork. So in the case of an antenna, the resonant piece of wire is stealing energy from the source. It's its resonant source. And that's why you see all that. And you know, when you look on a SWR plot and you see where it dips down at the bottom and then it goes back up again, at the very bottom, what that's telling is all the energy that's in that in the feeder system is being absorbed by that element, because you get down to the very bottom, there's very little reflected energy coming back, right? And as it goes back up, you're off frequency and less energy gets transferred. Did you bring any wine? So really, that's what's going on here, resonance. So blah, 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 physical, mechanical examples such as tuning forks out of balance wheels or washing machine tub that's spinning exhibit the same behavior. So if you want to think about resonance, throw a load of towels in your washing machine, way too many, and start spinning that sucker. At some point, it will shake like there's no tomorrow. Why is that? It is out of balance. But you'll also note, no matter how you overload it, it always shakes at the same frequency. You can add towels, you can remove towels, but it'll shake at exactly the same frequency. Why? That's exactly right. But the whole mechanism, that whole mechanical system, the same is true with your car. If a wheel's out of balance, you can move those balance weights all over the place. And if it was vibrating like crazy at 37.6 miles an hour, it's going to do the same thing at 37.6 no matter how you move those weights around, because that's the resonant frequency of the automobile. Isn't that crazy? That's how it works. So next slide. So here is my experimental laboratory, the laboratory. So that's our patio, and there's a piece of plastic pipe in the middle. And in the middle, I've got a current transformer right in the middle of that radiant element. So next slide. So what I did is, this is the end feed part. Remember that seven squared turn thing? That's the donut with a white wire. And then that thing that's got the red wire, that's actually a current transformer. I'm measuring how much current I'm putting into this antenna system. And so that white pole I showed you, I've got another current transformer. I wanted to see if the amount of current I was putting into the antenna was exactly what was available in the middle of the antenna. And guess what? It was. After all that length, there's as much current in the middle of the antenna after going down a quarter of the wavelength as there was that I put into the transformer. Pretty amazing, huh? Next slide. So here's some notes. On the bottom, there's a Smith chart, and it's telling us, this was done roughly 20 meters. I just cut a piece of doorbell wire. You like my antenna element? Doorbell wire. And believe it or not, this thing resonated at 14.4992224 megahertz. Not with my antenna analyzer. Is that an Oreo product? Oh, okay. So in any event, my test system was an AA30 rig expert producing 15 dBm, 31 milliwatts. And then that coupling ratio of my transformer, that current transformer, was 15 dB. And so I measured the output of the antenna 0.1 dBm, so the coupling loss is 15 dB. The output of the center antenna was minus 23 dB, including the 15 dB loss with the current transformer there. It's the same amount of energy. I thought that was remarkable. I was hoping to see that. And so, blah, blah, blah. The balance of the energy, balance in second quarter. Oh, yeah. So the first quarter wave was 8 dBm, second quarter wave, 8 dBm. And the SWR measured 1.1 at 14.5. The feed point impedance was 52.7 ohms. Pretty good guess, huh? And there's my transformer, 13 turn primary, 21 turn secondary. Next slide. So here's a better picture of what it looked like using a antenna analyzer. And you can see, where this one is here? And you see how this red line dips below it? A perfect SWR is right there, smack dab. We weren't perfect. We were only 1.1 to 1 with my doorbell wire. Pretty remarkable, huh? You don't need a lot of fancy stuff to figure this stuff out. And believe it or not, if you had a half-wave dipole, it would look exactly the same. It's just a different way to feed it. Is this working? Is it making sense? Okay, so next slide. So now I thought, since I've jerry-rig this antenna. I'm going to go buy a real one. And everybody talks about this BAS 71 from Palomar. And what they send you is a 71-foot element. That's what's here. And they got this little transformer thingy. And then they give you this extra piece of wire, 50 feet. And believe it or not, if you take 71 plus 50, that's 121 feet, right? Remember the magic number, 468? So you can use 468 two different ways. You can divide the frequency into 468, and it'll tell you how long the antenna should be, or you can take how long the antenna should be, divide it into 468, it'll tell you the frequency, right? Reciprocals. Well, guess what? If you take 468 divided by 121, it's 3.87 megahertz. What's 80 meters? So it really is a resonant antenna on 80 meters. Next slide. So these are words that came straight off of the data sheet from Palomar. And it says at the bottom, and we're going to get into my favorite topic here in just a moment. For best results, we recommend that the coax feed line be at least a quarter wavelength at the lowest operating frequency, since the coax braid is used as a counterpoise. You like that, James? Oh, good. We'll get to that. If you don't use the external counterpoise terminal on the matching unit, we also recommend a feed line choke, blah, blah, blah. But basically the reason for that 50-foot piece of wire is to produce what's called this counterpoise. Next slide. And so now Carol and I are co-conspirators on this. The confusing term counterpoise. There was a guy by the name of Seebeck, W4RNL, amazing guy. He wrote more information on antennas than just about anybody you'll ever run across. And these are his words. He says, the term counterpoise has a long history in antenna engineering and amateur practice. Today, it may be among the most misused terms in amateur circles. What do you think about that stuff, James? Indeed, if we examine both the history of the term, its meaning, and its misuses, we might reach an interesting conclusion. There is no such thing as a counterpoise in antenna analysis, even though the term has long and somewhat respectable use in antenna engineering. And so there's 13 pages that he follows up various examples, things that he had tested and all that stuff. And he concludes, now let us suppose that we find fault in either the correctness of the theory that underlie the traditional antenna engineering concept of a counterpoise, or that we determine it no longer has relevance in that the meaning or current antenna practice, because confused and conflated alternative meanings for the terms tend to create greater misunderstandings than they resolve. This option leads one to only one action, that we drop the term altogether from the antenna lexicon. And that's my point. It is a confusing term that doesn't really have any relevance. Let's move on. Next slide. I'm going to show you here in just a second. A counterpoise, the actual term, should be a radial or elevated radial. It's part of the active element. If you have a vertical and you have radials, they're part of the resonant producing structure, aren't they? A lot of people call them counterpoise. They're really radials. So the example below shows how the shield of coax can be used to provide the extra length. Next slide. Now this is interesting. God, how long has it been? Year and a half, 2 years since we did our balloon experiment? I wanted to come up with an inexpensive way so guys could get on 10 meters and be heard, because you need elevation. 10 meters has a very short ground wave. So you basically need line of sight to be effective on 10 meters. And so I thought, well, what happens if we have an antenna that we can elevate with, you can use a drone, you can use a balloon. So I made a 10-meter antenna out of a piece of, you guys know what RG174U is, little tiny thin coax. About 100-foot roll of that, and I made a half-wave vertical dipole with the end of this piece of RG174. We appropriated some helium from JoJo, some balloons, tied the balloon to the end of the piece of coax, took it out in the backyard, let the balloon go, called Carol on the phone, see if you can hear us. We did just fine, didn't we? None of that, we worked with we worked Georgia. So basically what we did is, you see this example says ferrite beads. So the top quarter wave is the radiating element, half the radiating element. And then you see where the shield is, that's the next quarter wave. And then they got all these common mode choke elements there. That's what we did. We used a little torrid to act as a current choke so that we could separate that other half the balance, or the other half of the antenna, because coax has an inside on the shield and an outside on the shield, right? So by using the inside of the shield to make the other half of the dipole, and then killing the amount of energy trying to work on the outside of the shield at the quarter wave point, we had a perfect quarter wave dipole. And it worked great. So here's another way you can do the same thing. You can run a piece of wire along the outside of the coax, quarter wave, and that makes a perfect quarter or half wave dipole. It can be a horizontal dipole, vertical dipole, or what's your question? 100 feet. We ran that coax as far as it would go, and it was hopping around till the damn balloon broke. But honest to God, you can make a dipole out of a piece of coax and a choke, or you can cheat. You don't need a choke. You can just add another piece of wire the same length. Oops, let me get away. The same length as the radiating element. It worked like a charm. I would think the drone would be the way to go. How long will a drone stay up? That's pretty good. Now, the thing you have to be careful about this, and I encourage anybody interested to try it, if you got any power lines around, do not even think about it. You will die. I mean, that's an absolute fact. But it's a great antenna. You can get on 10 meters and be heard just fine with nothing more than firing up your drone. Didn't think it's going to hear that tonight, did you? Next slide. So here is my installation of that commercial antenna. So if you look where it says roof elevation 16 feet, you see that Z, that's the vertical plane. Where the blue dot is the top of my fence. So I put that balun, or what they call their bullet, there, and I used my tennis ball launcher and blew that line over my roof. So the 71-foot part of that antenna went over my roof. And then I ran that 50-foot line down the fence line. That was my antenna. So far, so good? Next slide. And this is about the ugliest artwork you've ever seen. On the left side, I show 49-to-1 balun feeding a 50-foot wire that's joined to a 71-foot wire. And then below that, I show a 9-to-1 balun and the same lengths of wire, the 50-foot length of wire and a 71-foot piece of wire. If you look at this carefully, this is not an end-fed antenna. This is an off-center fed antenna, right? Make sense? Okay. Oh, and here's a pattern that it's produced. And Carol put this together. He's pretty good at doing these graphic things. Yes, sir. They're both the same. Have we got something we can throw at him? Next slide. So I did 4 tests. And the first test, we got to look at this, see if I can remember what the hell I did here. Oh, I had a 40-meter vertical antenna, and then I used this end fed, and in this case, I used one that I had existing. I had a 130-foot piece of wire around my fence that I fed with that 49-to-1 transformer. So it was a classic end fed, 6 feet off the ground. So if you look at this report, the first 5 contacts were off of that 80-meter fence-mounted end-fed half-wave antenna, and the signal reports were pretty lousy. I did get some distance off of a couple of them. I had one was 1,400 miles, 6 dB signal to noise ratio, which is just barely there, all right? And then the rest of them were off of my vertical. I mean, we got to Hawaii and all over the States. That vertical worked pretty good, but primarily for distance, which is what you would expect, low angle radiator, right? Yes. No radials. No. What do I need a radial for? No, it's a resonant piece of wire. It's end fed half wave, resonant antenna. No, nothing. That's all it was. Okay. Next slide. Test number 2. And, you know, the question was, well, I see it on my SWR meter. When you see this antenna on your SWR meter, you're going to shake your head and say, what is this thing doing? Because this is the curve. Look at this mess. You can see where the weird dips are all over the damn place. And this is using that BAS 71 antenna. So this time I did the same test, and yeah, the first 13 of them are off the end fed. I got great signal reports. And my vertical worked good at some long distance, but it wasn't as good as the end fed half wave. I thought that's pretty cool. Next slide. 6 foot for the 50-footer. The peak of my roof is 12 feet. Oh no, it's more than that. It's got to be about 16 feet. I mean, there's not much. Just laying on the roof.
The vertical antenna is inductively loaded, correct? It's not.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not a full-size antenna. And
No.
you're comparing it against a full-size antenna, in other words.
Yes.
Okay, so that might explain some of the difference there, in my opinion.
Probably does.
Okay. Efficiency, it's a higher efficiency antenna because it's longer. Talking about the BAS 71.
Well, we're going to get into that.
Okay.
Okay, so in any event, the BAS 71 works better than the vertical, yet that 133-foot piece of wire doesn't work as well as at 6 feet. Right. Right. This is creative antenna work. Not everybody can do this. Next slide. So what was I doing here? Oh, here I compared the Palomar to that fence antenna. Instead of against the vertical, I compared the 2 antennas. And I've got a summary of all these reports because this doesn't give us everything we want. I can't remember which one was which. But in any event, you can see how this pattern went. Let's go on to the next one. Reverse beacon network test of the off-center fed to the end-fed half wave. And you can see you know, when you're doing this reverse beacon network thing, what you do is you'll change the frequency. You'll have them close to each other so that you can compare one to the other, you know, which is which, right? Which is what's going on here. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. The first 12 entries are that BAS 71. And then the remaining 8 are off of the end-fed half wave, which is a pretty lousy antenna. I mean, it's 6 feet off the ground. What do you expect, right? On 80 meters. Okay, next slide. And here again, I'm trying to show you how I took the same 2 pieces of wire, the 50-foot piece of wire and a 71-foot piece of wire straight from Palomar. And the only difference is in one configuration, I use the off-center fed 9-to-1 balun. And in the other instant, I used a 49-to-1 balun, feeding it strictly on the end. That's what I'm showing. Yes, James? Right. No. I use their wire in both instances.
Yeah, and you're saying most of the energy is going up?
No. Carl, what's the question?
Most of your RF energy is going to warm up the sky, right?
Of course. If you look at that plot, you see it. You see how that thing goes straight up, the big balloon? The plot?
Yeah, I see it. That's what I was asking.
That's what it is. You're exactly right. It's all straight up. Only that's a model. That doesn't mean that's how the antenna works. That's a model of what we think the antenna does. And I'll explain that when we get to the tail end of this. But yeah, that's how it works out when you model the antenna. And by the way, they both model the same. Whether we do it with the off-center fed or if we do it end fed, the model works out exactly the same. So far, so good? Next slide. Sure. That is a 49-to-1 balun. That's just a jumper. Are you talking about the top one? That's just I used a wire nut. That's all it is. It's just a jumper. Okay, next slide. So here's the actual comparison for all 4 of these examples. In the first example, 80-meter horizontal wire at 6 feet, 49-to-1 transformer. There were 4 spots that came back. The median distance, and by the median, I say I take the high, I take the low, I go to the one in between high and low. That's the median distance. And whatever that distance was, that's the signal to noise ratio that the guy reported. So it's not an average, it's the median. Okay? So that 80-meter horizontal wire was pretty crappy, right? And a 40-meter vertical, it was a hero. 1,900 miles, 14 dB improvement over noise. Pretty cool. So 2 days later, I did another test. The Palomar BAS 71 with the 50-foot non-counterpoise, 12 spots, 2,096 miles, median, 13 dB signal to noise ratio. That's not bad. And the vertical, I only had, now you only get, I was running 20 spots. It's not that that antenna may not have done any better. Yes. Yes, they're all done at 10 o'clock at night. So 8 spots, 1,660 miles, it's kind of tracked for the first one, 16 dB signal to noise ratio improvement. So it was a fairly strong signal at distance. Close in stuff didn't work so well. So then on March 14th, what I did is I took that same Palomar antenna, I wire nutted the 50-foot piece of wire to the 71-foot piece of wire, and I used a 49-to-1 balun. And guess what? I got 9 spots, median distance, 725 miles, fairly good signal to noise ratio report. And the 40-meter vertical, I got 11 spots, 1,749 miles was the median, 12 dB. So it makes a difference where you feed that antenna. I was surprised. I didn't expect it. And so on the bottom, I did this again, only this time I compared. Oh yeah, that's against the vertical. And here I compared the same Palomar wire with an off-center fed configuration versus an end-fed half wave. And you can see 1,660 mile median, 14 dB signal to noise ratio, and with an actual end-fed arrangement, 7 spots, 1,400 miles, 6 dB signal to noise ratio. So I don't know why, because when you plot this antenna, and remember the plot works out the same, it's just that piece of wire, it's the radiator, we don't see why. And I honest to God think it has a whole lot to do with the radiation angle, but I don't know. I'm sorry? I didn't measure it. You would either way. You have a question, Art? Which transformer? The one from Palomar? I don't know what's in it. My homemade 49-to-1, yeah. Why is there a capacitor across there? I use 20 picofarads. No, just 20. And you know why? Because I measured it. I measured the reactance of that transformer at 40 meters. And I added a 20 picofarad capacitor to offset the inductance of that transformer. And if you look in all these articles that you see on the internet about building your own end-fed half wave, some guys call for 100 picofarads, some guys call for 200 picofarads, and they got all this mishmash rigmarole about why you need one versus the other. To coin a phrase, it's all BS. Because literally what you want to do is you want to tune out the reactance, the inductive reactance of the transformer. And the way you do that is you measure the inductive reactance, and then you calculate the appropriate capacitive reactance to give you net zero. The rest of it is hogwash. You like that, Carol? Hogwash? That's better than BS? Capacitor really only deals, it's a voltage. It's a voltage. I'm only running 100 watts. Art.
On the people out on Zoom can't hear you.
Make sure you talk loud so they can really hear you.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, just my anecdotal story, okay? Raining really, really hard one morning, perfect for ham radio, right? So I sit in front of my transmitter, start calling CQ, and like my SWR is like 10 trillion to 1. And I go, what's wrong here, you know? So I go out and everything looked okay. And I took the cover off of my, you know, the transformer, my homemade transformer, everything. And literally smoke was emanating from it.
How wet was it?
Not as dry as could be. And smoke was emanating from it, and I looked where the smoke was coming from inside it, and it was coming from my, my cheap capacitor that I bought on Amazon. 1,000 capacitors for $5, a big thing. So anyway, what I did was I was just following the directions. I should have known better, I guess. And it said 100 picofarads.
Yeah.
Right? So what I did was I got 3 30 picofarads, put them in parallel and soldered them together. It's been working great ever since.
There you go.
So I'm just saying that, it matters, capacitance, and your source of capacitors.
Junk
matter.
capacitors are
Yeah.
always bad.
But cheap. And they
Well,
come
not
in that
necessarily cheap. You can get some expensive bad capacitors too. I've done it.
I get, well, and that's the whole thing, Phil. There's a quote from that guy, Dave, who does an article on antennas every month in the ARRL. And he goes, absolutely everything affects everything when it comes to antennas.
Absolutely. Well, the bottom line here, and I want all of you to see this, there is something special about that off-center fed arrangement. And I don't know what it is, but it really does work.
Got a question for you.
I'll tell Deb. I got a new project. What's the question, Bob?
Okay, Phil, go back to your last, the bottom there where you, on April 19th, you compared the two antennas. I'm curious, first of all, you were not able to do an A-B comparison, right? You didn't have both antennas.
That is an A-B. It was 5 minutes apart.
Oh, it was 5 minutes. So you're able to switch between one antenna and the other.
Yeah, I took the wire nut off of one arrangement and took it down the other, 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm just curious whether if you were to try that experiment again tomorrow, let's say.
I have tried it again.
And what were your results?
Exactly the same kind of thing.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I don't know why. I wish they did. I have no way to do that. Yeah.
Well, can
mean,
I give you a personal experience too?
I'm sorry, Bob?
Can I give you just a personal experience on using an end-fed antenna? I have my antenna is 130-foot long end-fed antenna using the 49-to-1 balun. And it's in an L shape since I can't put it in a straight line on my property. And it starts out at a height of 5 feet. Goes up to maybe 20 feet for the next 110 or 120 feet, and then slopes back down to 5 feet again in the other end. And although I've never compared it to an off-center fed, I've got to say phenomenally this antenna works.
Great.
And I don't know why. And there's I think a lot of it is the mystery of antennas is that you don't really know until you try it.
Well, the real thing that goes on here, first of all, you have a resonant antenna. That's fine. It has, everything about antennas has something to do with ground. And guess what the one thing is you have no control of?
Your environment.
Ground.
Yeah.
And you could spend the rest of your life trying to figure it out unless you had a very sophisticated antenna test range, and then you can. But if you got something that works, that's great. Right?
Excellent. Absolutely.
So anyway, I don't understand what the difference is here. I wish they did. Carol and I worked on trying to analyze why these patterns, and it's got to be the pattern. There's nothing else that makes sense. So it works. Any other questions? James.
I know that Palomar antenna comes with a toroid.
Yes.
That allows you, instead of using the extra wire they include, you can use your coax braid as your radial.
Sort of like my
slash
balloon antenna.
counterpoise, and so if you put the toroid down at a certain. at
50
the-
feet.
Well, or 42 or 47 or whatever, that I guess has the same effect? That's the,
I would
that's-
think it has an identical.
that's how
from
I'm,
my
that's how I'm
perspective.
set up right now. I've never attached the wire, although now I'm curious, Alan has it too.
Well, again, if you go back to that slide I had and look at what they're saying, and there's an awful lot of antennas that are based on that. There was an antenna type called a coaxial antenna. Have you ever seen those? You know, the old CB guys used to have those. It's a vertical coaxial dipole. It's exactly the same thing. And sometimes I call them sleeve dipoles. It's the same concept as what you're talking about. Identical arrangement.
One more question. Do you think that your results would have been different if you had been higher off the ground, in reference to your point about?
You mean
the
not
ground?
sober?
In other words, if you
Of
were.
course they'd be different. But I don't know how much elevation change I'd have to make to have measurable difference. There would be a difference. There's no question about it. The higher you can get that antenna, for the most part, the better off you are. But I don't have a lot of room to play with that. I wish they did. I'd love to have an antenna test range. Any other questions?
I have a question, Phil, it's Wilson, and I went to the antenna seminar last October at Pacificon,
Mm-hmm.
and my memory doesn't serve me, but I thought we saw a presentation where they talked about how radiation patterns can have a beam forming effect.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
When you, I can't remember the reason, but it might have been when you change the feed point. But
I would think it does. And this experiment that we've just been through tends to make that statement, doesn't it?
But there might have been another reason for the beam forming effect. Another reason was when you have multiple waves on a length. So if you have an 80-meter wire, but you put 40 on it, then you get this
The
beam,
patterns change.
you get that beam forming pattern
Yes.
effect. And I might be confused about it, but I think that your feed point can affect the beam.
Sure it can.
Does anybody know?
But we have not been able to model it. I mean, that's the bottom line. If we could, we would have done it. You know, there's an awful lot of mystery regarding antennas. But again, the thing that impressed me is how much more effective this off-center fed design worked. I didn't expect it. Any other questions? I'm done. Okay, we got a couple of things. First of all, I've got some freebies up here.
How about some applause here? Some applause for Phil. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Phil.
We'll do the freebies after we have the drawing. All right, Gert, you're up. Did everybody buy 3 extra tickets? You know, Gert needs the money. Did you get a ticket? You don't want a ticket? You can still have a ticket. You know, if you buy a lot of tickets, I can almost guarantee a winner. Oh, Sylvia's got money. All righty. Yeah, he spent a lot of money on tickets, didn't he? By the way, Wilson, I'm motivated for a ham clock. Starts right there. Okay. Who gets to pick the winning ticket? Oh, no, 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 no. Larry just renewed. Let me see if I won. Not me. 727. You, come on up and grab it. The Amazon sells those little 20 dB attenuators, SMA. We don't have those.
I appreciate you. Thank you for picking these up.
Thank you for the checks. Thank you all. Oh, freebies. Oh, God. We got stuff. We got a slingshot. We've got some lead weights to go with a slingshot. We've got a little piece of coax and somebody's antenna start. Looks like that end-fed half-wave J-pole thing. We've got a genuine field strength meter that somebody built. And we've got a field strength meter. And we've got some, field strength meter. This is a, this is a bridge. It's a bridge. And then some insulators. And then here's a, shame on me. This is a dipole for 20 meters, complete with a W2, W2AU balance. So that's all free. Grab what you want. Volunteer for field day. Come to breakfast. Make sure you have money. Thank you all. And good night.
See you all on the nets tomorrow. Don't forget the nets. And cookies in the
Thanks,
back.
Phil.
Thank you.
Bye, Carl.